Hello, and welcome to Legalbytes. If you're new here, my name is Alita. I'm a lawyer licensed in California and DC, and on this channel, we explain the law one bite at a time. We don't give legal advice, but we do talk about how the law works and try to look into our crystal ball to see how things might turn out. If you're enjoying this on YouTube, we'd love it if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with friends, all the great YouTube-y stuff. And if you want to listen while out and about, we're now offering our live streams in podcast form where you can leave a rating and review. Links are in the description below, as well as to our clips channel where you can find some of the best clips taken from our live streams. Otherwise, if you want to catch me elsewhere, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so on Locals, Patreon, or by becoming a YouTube member, or by buying some really awesome Legalbytes merch. Again, all links are in the description below. And with that said, let's get into it. Good morning and a good afternoon. For me, it's morning right now because I am back in California with a California mug, California coffee. Well, the coffee's not from California, but I'm drinking it in California. So I feel like everything is California right now. Anyhow, so we've got some stuff. We've got some developments, right? We've got more Amber Heard nonsense. As I posted on social media about this stuff, and we kind of knew that this was gonna happen. Like, we saw her hopping on some private jet up and down the East Coast, going between New York and DC, and where else? I guess Virginia, and I don't know. She's been hopping around there, right? On some private jet that she says she can't afford. Interesting stuff, right? Interesting is one way to put it. So anyhow, I haven't yet reacted on these videos or to these videos because yesterday we got some tiny clips, right? We got some like 2-minute clips, and I reacted on Twitter, and I considered reacting on YouTube as well, but I was like, I want to wait until there's a little bit more meat on the bone. And now we've got a 10-minute video to react to. So I'm excited. I have to say, I did start to watch a little bit of it. And when I got to a certain point, I was like, oh no, I've got to save the rest of this, because I had a very natural reaction to something that she said. Like, I was like, are you kidding me? You really said this? I'll point it out when we get to it. But yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be great. So anyhow, I love seeing all these folks in here. So many blue hearts that were showing up earlier. I see so many folks from so many places. I love it. Good morning, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I hope you're having a good day. So, all right. Shall we get started? I feel like we should just get into it, right? Because we've already seen the the many interviews by Elaine Bredehoft, going around and talking about the tale of two trials. She had her talking points that she would go down the list and check the boxes. And then we saw Ben, Shu, and Camille, and they did their interviews that were pretty straightforward, talking about like, hey, the facts are what the facts are. This is what the jury saw, and we're happy with the result. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. This is just gonna be, I don't know what it's going to be. We'll see. We'll find out together.
More than a week since the verdict. As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in? How could it? Surreal and difficult, in part, yes. This has been a long time coming. Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse? Of course. To my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
Well, that's unfortunate, because her testimony sucked and no one believed her, and for good reason, because she was lying. She was very clearly lying during her testimony, and it didn't line up with anybody. Didn't line up with literally anyone, not even her sister. The one that was supposed to be the most supportive of her testimony, the stairs testimony, neither of them could agree who was where and what at what point. So, okay. Sure, Amber. Let's continue.
The real-life drama of the defamation case between Amber Heard and her ex-husband Johnny Depp captivated millions of people around the world.
Amber Heard just got exposed.
Johnny, you hit me.
This is so cringe.
With clips spreading across social media like wildfire.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that
Okay, so we've talked about this many times, right? Many times about the let's see here. We'll do this. We'll do it like this. So many times we've talked about the difference between the court of public opinion and the court of law. She was fighting, or they were fighting a battle in both. And so much of this, I've been thinking about this. The fact that they've been focusing so much on the social media aspect of this trial makes me wonder if that's the part that they cared about more than the actual trial itself. Probably. I mean, it makes me also think back on the wardrobe choices that she had throughout the trial. Remember how we said that she was not dressing for a trial? She was dressing for more like a, I guess what you would expect at like a Me Too rally, right? Like she was dressing more as like this strong, severe, like warrior woman, you know, like in the severe all black clothes and the you know the hair that was all glamorous. Like she wanted to be like this like super fierce, you know, which is fine. It's fine. You can do that. There's a place for that. And in a lot of respects, I liked a lot of her wardrobe, not all of it, but a lot of it I did. I loved a lot of her hair choices, to be perfectly honest, just not for court. So I think that like I don't know if it's her team. Maybe it's her. Maybe it's her that she does not understand the difference between the court of public opinion and the court of law, because there seems to be a lot of this confusion here, right? About, you know, social media having an impact on the trial. Now, you can say social media did have some kind of an impact on the trial because the people that were watching, or, you know, that social media drew a lot of attention onto this. That meant that the witnesses that came in on rebuttal were people that maybe wouldn't have otherwise known about what was going on and known that, oh, I actually have some information that could be helpful. And so I want to testify. I want to help out. You know, that, you know, there's an impact with that. However, as far as what it sounds like they're suggesting more than anything is that the social media had an impact on the jury, which there is so far zero evidence. So if she goes into that nonsense, absolute nonsense, and I'm saying nonsense because I want to use some spicier words, but I also don't want to get demonetized. But anyhow, okay. All right, let's continue.
this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok. And the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think
like I just said, there's zero evidence of that. Zero evidence. And here's a question too, is that like, why, if this is not someone that is moving the goalposts, why didn't she go into it saying there's no way that this is going to be a fair trial? Right? This is like, it's the sore loser coming up with excuses on the back end. If you are now going to say it is impossible for the jury in this case to come out fairly because of social media and because of the support that Johnny Depp has from his fans, because Johnny Depp is such a celebrity, you have to go into it saying that, because otherwise you're moving the goalposts.
even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
Why didn't you say that going into it? Why didn't you say that from the very beginning? Why didn't you say that the deck is stacked up against us? No one said that. No one did. No one did. You certainly didn't until you lost. So I'm sorry. No.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying burn the witch, death to Amber. After 3.5 weeks,
Wait a second. I wasn't in Fairfax, so I didn't see the signs. I would like to know from maybe Rob or Ian or James, who were around at that time to see if they actually saw any signs that said burn the witch or death to Amber. Because, and let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to the clip that was showing the signs before, because I feel like if there was truth to that, the media would have, here we go. The media would have shown those spicier signs, don't you think? Burn the witch, death to Amber. I see justice for Johnny Depp. I see I love you and your lawyers, Johnny. Those are loving messages. Let's face it. The media would have taken that and run with it if they saw justice for Johnny Depp people with signs saying something like that. I don't know. This is just me. I'm speculating. Maybe someone saw them. Maybe those did exist. I don't know. Maybe there's one or two in a sea of pro Johnny Depp signs. I don't know. It's possible. So maybe she was, looking out for those, and those are the ones that are going to affect her more. So she saw those. If there were some that were just like a few in a sea of pro Johnny Depp signs, I don't know. I would be very curious to hear from people that were actually there in person to find out from them if they did see anything like that. Because otherwise, so far, what I'm seeing from this video, from this cut, from this scene right here, and then what she says afterwards, what I'm seeing is something that doesn't exactly jive.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying burn the witch, death to Amber. After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal.
Okay. There were rules for decorum. Folks were generally following them, right? So, I mean, are you saying that the people that were in the courtroom were influencing the jury? Is that really what you're saying?
Energized.
Careful.
Can you put into words how that felt?
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through. I have never felt more removed from my own humanity. I felt less than human.
The first part of that statement I was believing, because I can imagine that it probably was absolutely mortifying to go through. I can imagine she probably is still mortified that she's got people like me that are reacting to her videos and her interviews and stuff, right? Folks like other people on YouTube, other people on TikTok, other people on Twitter and Instagram, she's getting lampooned. I can imagine that is very embarrassing. But there's something about, and maybe I need Spidey here, but there's something about this last portion right here that she seems like she's like stopping and posing and then like putting on a really sad face and then saying what she said.
Or removed from my own humanity.
Wait. Right here. Wait, here.
I felt less than human.
Let's go.
Is it just me? Am I being nitpicky? There's something about that feels off. Okay.
Back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
That's a great question.
AKA, I have no idea how to respond to this, so I will have a dramatic pause. How could she possibly be confident at that point in the trial? I mean, she literally fled from the courtroom one day. There's no way that she could be confident, and the question is, why was she not confident? That's going to be the big part of this answer, right?
I wish I could say yes to that. I want to say yes to you, but it would.
Why is she giving? I'm sorry. This is another extra layer of drama. I wish I could say yes to you. I wish I could say yes. Come on, just say yes or no. Just be real for a minute here.
It wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't tell me look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
Do you find
Why though? Why do you think that? Why do you think that it's unfair for someone to be called out for lying? Even if you think that I was lying, you can't tell me that that was fair. I'm sorry. If people think that you are lying, it is incredibly fair for them to tell you that they think that you're being ridiculous for lying, and for lying in such a terrible, terrible, terrible way. Not just dragging someone through, like dragging someone through the mud. That's such a minor way of putting it, right? It's such it limits the seriousness of the allegations that she had against another human being, but also for the movement, for the Me Too movement, for all of these people that came together for such a grassroots movement, for something that was very important to a lot of people, that has impacted a lot of people, or I should say that was aimed at remedying something that was very serious that impacted a lot of people, men and women. It's just, no, I'm sorry. You lie about that bullshit, and yes, you deserve to be lampooned. You deserve to be lampooned. If people think that you are lying, they are perfectly well within their right to make you hear about it. That's a terrible statement to make. I am sorry. That is a terrible statement to make, Amber.
that Mr. Depp has proven all the elements of defamation? Answer, yes.
After the 6-week trial, the jury found Heard defamed Depp in a 2018 Washington Post op-ed in which she wrote she was a public figure representing domestic abuse. She never mentioned her ex-husband by name. Depp denied the abuse allegations in court. Heard won just one of 3 claims in her countersuit against her ex-husband. That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife-beater.
There was another trial, handled it dealt with the same substantive issues that had even
Kind of, but not really. Anyway, let's continue.
more evidence in. In fact, my evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept out. Done differently, handled differently by
Different jurisdiction, different country, different laws, different facts, right? Because there were more facts that came in Virginia than there were facts that came in the UK. Also, different standards because of the fact that this was not against her. I'm sorry, Amber. Do we need to remind you, you were not a party to that litigation. You were a witness. Do we need to remind you that you were not cross-examined in the UK, but you were cross-examined in Virginia? I'm sorry. No. So many different things. Apples to oranges.
a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some,
So what you're saying is that your attorneys tried to distract the jury from the real issues. This is what you just said. His lawyers did a better job of distracting the jury. So what you're saying is that your lawyers tried to distract the jury from the real issues. This is what you're saying. I'm sorry, I don't think that you intended to say that, but that is what you said. I think that the first part of that statement is correct, that yes, his lawyers were better than yours, Amber. I'm sorry. It's true. Rottenborn was actually pretty good, but by God, why was Elaine on that team? I'm sorry. And no, they were not distracting the jury from the issues. We all watched together. We called it. We called this trial. We explained it while we were watching it. And no, No. You know who was trying to distract the jury from the real issues? The side that was trying to make this into something about a movement, something about free speech rights that are not implicated in a defamation case. I'm sorry, but no, you're wrong. Stop it.
Some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst. But what people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is
it is a lot bigger than just a Hollywood case about Hollywood brats. It's about someone who lied about another human being in the worst possible way and made him go through hell and destroyed his life. Okay, sorry. Let's continue.
this is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech.
Yes.
It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that
Thank you,
was the
Savannah.
issue in the case.
That's
Yes,
exactly correct.
exactly. You can't go into the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire.
Okay. This is a pet peeve for many lawyers because it's not exactly true. It's not a thing. Because if you go into a crowded fire and there is a fire, you will not be harmed by shouting fire because then there is a fire. Okay, so that came from what was it? It wasn't even a majority opinion from the Supreme Court in a case from a very long time ago. And in First Amendment Supreme Court cases that followed that one, they clarified we didn't actually intend what that sounded like. So the fact that this comes up all the time when people say that the First Amendment does not protect your right to shout fire in a crowded theater, it's like an old wives' tale. It's like an old wives' tale. Also, even if that were true, it's not related to what Savannah just said, Amber. So it just shows that you are. It reminds me of Princess Bride. You keep using that word. I don't think you understand what it means. This is what this whole First Amendment thing, this whole First Amendment argument really reminds me of here is Amber keeps bringing up the First Amendment, and she doesn't quite seem to understand what that means with regard to defamation, especially.
We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding of what that means.
Wait, what? I mean, maybe, but the United States is pretty unique in our First Amendment rights. We're pretty unique around the world with just how strong our First Amendment rights are. So, anyhow,
Means is not just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
But truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke. And I
sure, Amber.
spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime and said you were acting. What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
This was the part that I got to, and I was like, what? And this is when I said I need to stop watching it. I need to watch the rest of it live because this is ridiculous. Let's replay that. Let's replay that again.
What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer for the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
So Amber is not only confused about the difference between the court of public opinion and a court of law, she also seems to be confused about reality and fiction. Does she think that Johnny actually is Edward Scissorhands? Like, he was actually created by an eccentric inventor in like the attic of his house off like the edge of some suburban community that had like pastel colored houses. I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused because it sounds like that's what she's saying. What is that? What else could you possibly be meaning with like this? Like, what else could possibly be the significance of that statement? I don't understand. I don't understand. Is Johnny every character that he's ever played? Like, is he not just Edward Scissorhands? And is he actually also a pirate? And is he actually also the Mad Hatter? I'm 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 confused. I'm a little confused, Amber. I think maybe not I'm confused. I think you're confused is the issue here. Okay. So yeah. And I don't understand what significance that has to the lawyers that are representing him. Also, like if you also think that he's actually Edward Scissorhands or that the public thinks that he's actually Edward Scissorhands. I'm a little confused about this whole thing. Like how did you think that was an actual dig? I'm sorry, guys. I've got to replay the question because I want to get back to the question and then the answer because I don't think that she really answered it here. So let me sorry guys, I'm getting it on a little bit of slow mode here for the mods. Okay, let's go back. I want to take this back here. I think this should be it.
All I spoke. And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Okay.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer.
Wait a second. Wait, did I go forward? I think I may have gone forward. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Just the freedom to speak. It's a freedom to speak truth to power.
The truth is the word.
Yes.
And that was the issue.
And that's all I spoke.
Okay.
And I spoke it to power, and I paid the price.
Okay.
In the closing arguments, the Depp lawyer called your testimony the performance of a lifetime. And said you were acting.
Okay.
What do you say to that?
Says the lawyer.
She says she was
for
acting.
the man who convinced the world he had scissors for fingers.
Okay. Again, I don't understand how that's a retort to Camille saying that was an acting performance of a lifetime. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit too hung up on this one, but I can't understand how she thinks that this is some kind of a dig. Okay. Okay. Anyway, let's just let's continue.
I'm the performer. I had listened to weeks of testimony insinuating that, or saying quite directly that, I'm a terrible actress. So I'm a bit confused how I could be both.
The Depp team argued that you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence. Did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes.
Yes.
In which you acknowledge hitting.
Yes.
There are tapes in which you say,
Thank you,
I
Savannah.
started the fight.
Yes.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not.
Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Are you now suggesting that the evidence has been tampered with by the other side? Because that's not a point that has ever come up before, to my knowledge. I mean, to be fair, there were many hearings which we were not privy to because they were not done on camera, right? There were hearings for motions in limine, which basically means what evidence is going to come in, what evidence is going to come out. That was all ahead of the trial. So there was a lot that we were not privy to. However, I to my knowledge, that was not an argument that was going to come up. I mean, we knew about the metadata issue for the photos, right? Like that was something that came up. It came up with in motions for sanctions. I mean, and the reason for that is like when you get this kind of data, that's audio, video, photos, you need to be able to get to the metadata so that you can figure out whether or not it's real. If her attorneys never asked for any kind of metadata background information on these audio tapes and they took it at face value, never once argued that those were edited, and then she's now going around saying those are edited, that's bull. Complete and utter bull. You cannot come up with some kind of an argument. This is, again, moving the goalposts. Moving the goalposts, moving the goalposts. That's the theme of this interview, is moving the goalposts. And maybe just the theme of like Amber's whole strategy, I guess, throughout this trial. So okay. Now to be fair, she said that the audio that we've all heard that was leaked was edited. But that sounds like that's the same audio that was used at trial. So if she's suggesting that the evidence has been tampered with, that's a serious claim. Let's continue.
Evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again.
Yes.
I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
Dude, Savannah, asking some good questions. These are some good questions from Savannah. I appreciate that she's pushing back on her here.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's...
Wait, what? She said, I don't have the resources that you or I have to say that this is black and white. Also, I hope you guys appreciate this freeze frame right here. I didn't intend that, but that's kind of funny. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I got a little distracted for a second, and I'm trying to understand how she's trying to spend this right now. Okay, let me go back. Maybe I paused this too soon.
Blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or...
I remember what I was going to say. She was talking about fearing for her life. The woman that gave as a gift a ginormous knife that says hasta la muerte says that she feared for her life. The woman who says who is on audio with Johnny, where he talks about where he it sounds like he's maybe gonna use a knife to hurt himself, and she says, that knife isn't sharp enough, Johnny. Let me get you a sharper knife. She said that herself on audio. We all heard it. And you say you're fearful of your life. Come on. I mean, I get that you have certain talking points that you want to stick to, or certain fact points that you want to stick to, but this is BS, man. Like, we all heard this.
Or I do, with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am the victim of domestic violence.
20-second
Yes.
clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpt from.
Okay. And this is why in a court of law, there is the rule of completeness, that if one side uses a portion of evidence of audio, video, or a document, and they only put in a certain portion of it because that's what they want to put in, the other side is able to then argue to the judge and say, hey, for purposes of context, it's unfair right now to have this evidence admitted only as it is. And in fairness, so that the jury can fully understand what it is that they are looking at, they need to be able to see the full document, the full audio, the full video, or more of it, if not the full thing. Because realistically, putting in a full 3 hours of stuff, maybe not all that helpful. Also, ironically, if I remember correctly, it was Amber Heard's team that was adding in these teeny tiny little clips of Johnny Depp audio while he was on the stand during his cross-examination. And they were like, hey, oh, hey, we're going to play this 10-second clip. And then it was the other side, Johnny Depp's attorneys, that then came in on redirect and said, okay, let's play more of it. And it gave so much more context. So Amber, what in the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Number one, both sides had the opportunity to admit more evidence for the purposes of context. And number two, they had the opportunity to do so. Get out of here.
Could your side have just put the whole 3 hours in then?
I'm not a lawyer. As I testified to, I was talking in those recordings as a person in extreme amount of emotional, psychological, and physical distress.
He
And
says
it
he
doesn't-
never hit you.
He can't-
Never. Is
yeah.
that a lie?
Yes, it is.
What row? Rut row, Ramber. So people have asked about the possibility of Johnny seeking an injunction against Amber. So generally speaking, courts don't like to follow up a defamation case with an injunction, because it does start to get into free speech zones. And as I said, the United States is quite unique in that we have very strong First Amendment rights here. However, if there has been a jury verdict that says Johnny Depp is not an abuser, and then you go around saying that is a lie, you are going against a jury verdict. This is now getting into territory where there could be a possibility, because the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow for these kinds of injunctions after a jury verdict like this. So possibly. I'm not saying it's 100% going to happen, but we are getting into this territory. Okay.
What about the witnesses who said they have seen you?
And to answer the question in the chat, someone asked, what is an injunction? So an injunction is a basically a determination by the court that says that one party either is compelled to do something or is prevented from doing something. And it can be, let's say someone wants to knock down a building because they want to rebuild it or something, but it turns out that that building is historic. That someone can potentially, there could be a situation where somebody files an injunction to prevent that person or company or whatever from knocking down that building because of its historical value and because of, certain like an ability of someone else to like enforce that even. But basically an injunction could be hypothetically issued to prevent that from happening. Basically telling this company, no, you are not allowed to knock down this building. Even if otherwise they could have potentially had a right to do it. So you can also sometimes force someone to do something, but courts are much less likely to force someone to do something because courts don't like to it can get into like forced work, forced labor kind of territories, and we have a thing about that nowadays that we don't really, there's an amendment on that one. There's a constitutional amendment on no forced labor. But more often than not, an injunction could be issued to prevent someone from doing something. So you could get someone after a defamation verdict. Hypothetically speaking, the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow, from my research, the Commonwealth of Virginia does allow for an injunction post a defamation verdict to prevent someone from continuing to defame that person in the way in which the jury actually came out and decided. So the motion would have to be made, but I don't think that the court is going to do that on their own. But so it would be up to, I believe, Depp's team to request it. But if she keeps doing it, if she keeps saying this kind of crud, I don't know.
Instigate physical violence.
I've seen firsthand how people will file rank and support the person they depend on.
Did they all come in and
Do you mean like Eve Barlow? Sorry, let's continue.
lie in court?
I am not here to call any of his witnesses any names. I'm here to just kind of talk about it from what it felt like for me as a person who sat there.
When I asked his lawyers, why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret. I freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong.
What? You said you were pushed to the point where you didn't know right and wrong. Did she just say that? Did she just say she was pushed to the point where she didn't know right and wrong? You're an adult, Amber. You have been an adult during this entire relationship. I'm sorry. And wasn't this whole answer like in response to like her not taking accountability for anything? Okay, let's I'm sorry to keep rewinding, guys, but I need to make sure that I'm hearing these things clearly. The question was about her not taking accountability, and then she's like, yeah, no, I did. And I was pushed. I was pushed. Listen to that language, that passive language, so that I didn't know right from wrong. Okay, I'm sorry. I got it. I got to go back, guys. I got to go back.
Behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable.
Wait. Hang on. Sorry. I've got to go back a little bit further. Okay.
Why do you think you won? And the answer I got was, because she never took responsibility for anything she did in the marriage.
I did do and say horrible, regrettable things throughout my relationship. I behaved in horrible, almost unrecognizable to myself ways. I have so much regret. I freely and openly and voluntarily talked about what I did. I talked about the horrible language. I talked about being.
Did she though? What? I don't remember her freely and openly talking about any horrible language that she said during the marriage. I mean, I get that it was a long trial, but I was there for all of it. Um, okay. Okay, that's your reality.
Pushed to the extent where I didn't even know the difference between, right and wrong.
Okay, so yeah, she did say that. She did say that she was pushed so that she didn't know right from wrong. Okay, so once again, it's not her fault. It's not her fault. She said things that she shouldn't have said, and it was because she was pushed so that she didn't know right from wrong. I don't know. Has any adult ever been pushed to that extent? I mean, like to suddenly not know right from wrong? Like, you can be that can be a legal excuse, but usually that's an insanity defense. It's not just because I was like under pressure, under stress, I was in a traumatic relationship. It's like literally your brain could not tell the difference between right and wrong because there was a malfunction in the brain. Like that is an insanity defense. This is more BS, more nonsense.
Will always continue to feel like I was a part of this, like I was the other half of this relationship, because I was. And it was ugly and could be very beautiful.
What?
It was very, very toxic. We
That
were
I think
awful
we all agree
to
on.
each other. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
A lot of mistakes.
Yes.
But I've always told the truth.
No. Pretty clear that is not the case. You did not always tell the truth. In fact, you lied quite a bit on the stand. Okay. Well, we got to the end of part 1. Let's get some super chats, shall we? Okay. So, let's get it. Okay, Blue Raven 007 says, Depp was a selfish loner junkie. He barely, if ever, truly helped her find roles, despite his demands that she respected and followed. He left her high and dry, and she wasted the best years of her personal life and career on him. She wanted revenge. Yeah, that's definitely what it sounds like. I mean, she's said so many times that she wants to move on with her life, right? That's what she said, but it doesn't actually seem that way. Thank you so much for the very generous super chat, by the way, Blue Raven 007. Funky Fudge 11 says she's acting and badly, but I wish there weren't so many video cuts in the interview. Yeah. Yeah, I think that this probably is one of those that was a bit edit heavy because they probably wanted her legal team to clear it. I mean, like there was one in particular where when she started to say, "Well, I'm not a lawyer," and then it was a kind of a rough cut that they probably were like she probably said something really stupid that was actually even more potentially liability ridden, and they probably were like, "Whoa, we can't have her comment on the law," and right after she says, "I'm not a lawyer," but anyhow, mac and cheese. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure if I got that one. Did I? Amber discusses looking into her eyes again. Watch. Oh, okay. So maybe I'll have to do another part of this because I thought this was the only one that was live today. Linda Poulon says, watching from the bar in Daytona Beach. Hey, cheers. Have fun, man. Anna Hotko says, I kind of felt sorry for her stylist trying to find the right outfit to copy whoever she was imitating. I know it was a revolving door, wasn't it? Brianna says, Amber, if the jury saw what was out there, you wouldn't have gotten anything, boo. Rolling on the floor. Yeah. Yeah. Zach Frisch says, afternoon, LB. Think you'll really like the interviewer's pushback. I can't stand AH's soft voice and cadence. It rings so false and drives me nuts. I agree. I agree. Moral Griever says, AH, women who don't believe me must be JD's fans. Me. I'm an abuse victim, and you sound all and behave eerily like my abusive mother, and I really don't like JD that much either. AH, you all suck. Yeah. 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 Agreed. Mind and Medicine with Anne and Danny says, no signs. Google it. I could not find a line stander that saw any of this anti-Amber BS. All right. I will keep that question open until I feel like I hear from enough people about one way or another, because I hadn't heard anything about it, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist, right? Kim Ripley says, I'd like to see a demonstrative showing how social media support changed over the course of time as her lies came out at trial, because there was little in his favor when she first made allegations. Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. Helene T says she felt less than human. She's a Horcrux. She is a Horcrux. Keith Kosick says, I so can't wait for the first juror that decides to give an interview. Me too. Me too. And honestly, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there is a juror that would prefer to go and talk to folks on YouTube rather than the MSM, my DMs are open, my emails are open. I would love to talk to you. And I can, however a juror would feel comfortable with doing it, I would love it. I'm more than happy to oblige. Tom Wood says she claims it was the most horrible and humiliating thing she went through. Isn't she supposed to be an abuse survivor? Yeah. Yeah, she is. She is. So, yeah. Amber Scissorhands says, I'll see y'all in part 2. # spoiler alert. Yes. Okay. So actually, I suppose today, this one was part 2. And yesterday, I could have sworn today was part 1, but I guess I'll have to redo it. I'll have to redo the title here. Camilla Santa Maria says, you'd think the alleged abuse would be the worst experience of her life and not public embarrassment. You would think so. You would think so. Grumpy Granny says, weird dramatized answers. She's living in a book. Seems like it. Nicholas Stero says, pause, insert dramatic sigh. Answer. Yes. So true. Kagama says, I saw in Tug's channel that an Amber's filing for appeal filed under seal is listed next to much of the transcript. What does that mean? It means that they are filing these things. Sorry, give me just 1 second here. So they are whatever it is that they are using as the basis of their appeal, they want it filed under seal, meaning that they don't want it to be public for whatever reason. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's what that means. It's private, or not for public consumption. El Bond says she used social media against JD for years, but now it's unfair. Very good point. Nora Salas says the jury could have avoided social media, but AH's legal team shared the online AH hate to the court. That is so true. Yes. The jury did learn about the social media hashtags, but it's not because of the people outside. It's not because of the actual social media world. It's not because of Johnny Depp's team. Amber, turn to your damn lawyers and ask them why. You were there in the courtroom. We were all watching. We were all there. We all saw it. Everybody saw what happened there. The reason is because your expert was called to testify on social media and testified about these hashtag campaigns. You got to be kidding me, right? Now you say that's all unfair? Come on. AP says social media doesn't matter. Facts shown in the courtroom matter. Facts are important, not your feelings about the facts. Agreed. Mary Callan says, to be frank, interviews are probably the only time she'll get to actually act again. Thank you, Alita, for your brilliant insight throughout this trial. You're welcome. Thanks so much for watching with us. It was good. I'm glad. Hey, we've got apparently more stuff to talk about here, right? D Cross says if AH had been abused, seeing those signs would not have been the most horrible thing she has ever experienced. Another proof. True. True. Angeline Botha says this trial was the worst thing she's ever been through. But didn't she suffer horrific essay? Yep. That's what she says. That's what she says. And to be fair, I don't know. If we were talking about a real DV survivor, right? An argument could be made that the experience of the trial could be worse. But the thing is that I would expect her to say something along the lines of, what I went through was horrific. Reliving it all over again as if, like as if from scratch and in front of the whole world was 10 times worse because I had to relive all of those memories. It's not what she said. She said nothing like that. Funua Ukweli says, Amber, you wrote an op-ed, tried to try this in the court of public opinion, then get upset you're being tried in the court of public opinion. Yeah, exactly. Cryptophagia says, someone should tell AH that her own testimony lost the case. Yep, agreed. She lost it for herself. El Bond says she uses First Amendment and lying synonymously. Yeah, she does. Melissa Unbreaded scissor hands. Coffee Tea Mix says, what does speak truth to power mean? Oh, speak truth to power is a phrase that has like been brought up quite a bit in recent years. Where it's basically saying someone with not so much power, like someone like you have a, let's say in a corporate environment, you have a woman that works as, a receptionist or in the mail room, so to speak. And then you've got a male corporate executive. Not the gender isn't always part of the dynamic, but basically you have certain levels of power in that sort of stratification, right? But when the person down at the bottom of that hierarchy speaks truth, and that is something that is very uncomfortable, and it puts the person higher up in a very, like, it would put them in a very difficult position, but they're able to sort of like overcome that with the level of power that they have. Speaking truth to power basically means my understanding anyway, is that it means that you are telling the truth, and you are doing so with a lot of courage and with a lot of bravery, and basically like saying, like, I don't care about the consequences of that power coming down on me. I am going to speak the truth. I mean, people often say my truth. I prefer to say the truth because, generally speaking, you have different interpretations of the truth, but the truth itself is always going to be the same. So that's my thought. So, but speaking truth to power basically means, like, I'll be damned, because of the wrath that I'm going to face as a result of it. I shouldn't say wrath because I feel like that's like using her words. It's not always like that. But basically knowing that there are going to be consequences because you are going up against some very powerful people and still speaking the truth. I hope that makes sense. Josh McCarty says, if there is a fire in a crowded theater, you absolutely can yell fire. LOL. Yes. Yes. Giannis says, sorry if it was asked before, but is it just me or does AH deepen her voice like that CEO of Theranos with the scandal from years ago? Also, needless to say, as a Greek, this was infuriating to hear. Yes, she does. She does. She goes a little bit lower. And then other times she raises it too, and she wants to sound so like weak and like emotional, like, oh, like that, like this whole, I don't know. I'm not doing it very well, but like, how she's like, how she did that dramatic pause and she was like, and then the signs, or something like that. I don't know, but she ranges her voice in a way that is uh seemingly for dramatic effect. Brenda Lee Lyndon Carter says, no, it's turd is the word. Okay, sorry. It took me a second because the music notes are behind. For me, the music notes are black on the screen. Yeah. Tyler says, you mean those weren't really his fingers? Yeah, right? I know. I hate to break it to you, but there's some magic in those movies. Tilduru 2503 says, there it is, the dumbest thing you'll hear today. LOL. I believe so. Wasted Poe says, does she know that Edward Scissorhands was not a documentary? Right? That's what I said. I mean, I didn't say exactly that, but basically, David Hardy says, Amber is doing everything Dr. Curry said she would. Yep. Amber Scissorhands says, I was born out of part 2 of this interview. Wasted Post, a serious question. Is this helping her image? Looks crazy. I think to people who did not watch the trial and are not familiar with the actual facts that came out at trial, maybe, possibly. But to those of us who have been watching and who have evaluated the evidence for ourselves, there's quite a few of us, right? No, it's not helping her image there. It's not, because she's just trying to, it's like she's trying to gaslight the world. Fun Time says, how does she compare Edward Scissorhand and her lying? I'm still trying to understand her point in replying to. So the question was, what's your response to Camille saying in closing that was the biggest acting, performance of her life? I don't know. I don't even understand what the Edward Scissorhands comment really means in response to that. You know what it tells me? It tells me she has no response. She has no response because it was her performing. It was her acting. If it wasn't, I would have expected her to say something along the lines of, I would expect the opposing counsel to say exactly that. That's exactly what I would expect them to say because she's arguing for her client. However, I know myself, I know me, and I was not acting. That was all sincere. And I'm sorry that she, misinterpreted that or something like that. Something along those lines. But like what she said here just is so bizarre. I don't understand why she would say that. Aaron Held says the Scissorhands comment she made, I think, is to imply that Johnny was acting through the whole trial, portraying a character. Yeah, I guess so. But like it doesn't stick though. It doesn't she tossed some spaghetti on the wall, none of it stuck. Now you just have a messy wall. And you don't know why she threw the spaghetti in the first place. Susan Silver says, pretty sure the scissors comment was that he was a better actor on the stand than she was. I guess. I don't, maybe, I don't know. Zach Frisch says, clearly AH isn't allowed to ad-lib in her movies. Yeah. Meb2X says, she looks so unprepared for this. Hashtag scissor fingers. Yeah. It did seem like there were a couple questions that she was not exactly prepared for. That was one of them. I don't know why she wouldn't be though, because I don't know. I don't know. Claire Cowell, thanks so much for the super sticker. Rich Brocker says, next she'll claim that it wasn't really her in court. She was hacked. It wasn't me. It was a hologram that someone created of me, and I was locked in a basement somewhere. Michelle Maynard says, check with Spidey, but watch her chin lying down. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure he'll have something to say about her brow line, and then her chin. And I don't know. I've got to spend more time with Spidey so I can like learn his ways and be able to pick this stuff out. Brenda Lee Leiden Carpenter says, performance of your life isn't necessarily a good one. Yeah. Hungry Helmet says, are there legal implications for the BS she's spewing? Possibly. She has, I pointed out earlier, but there's a possibility that she could possibly see an injunction filed against her for running around saying that he did actually hit her when the jury found otherwise. Diego HD says, it's sad that media is so desperate for rating that they continue to give interviews opportunities to an abuser. Can you imagine if the roles were reversed? Oh, wait, this already happened and it destroyed Johnny for 6 years. Well, to be fair, I can't really give that much criticism to them because it's an interview that anyone would want to take, right? And we're commenting on it. So, you know, I wouldn't blame them. And I would expect the same thing, or I would hope that if the roles were reversed, they would have also given to Johnny if he had lost. Not that the roles were entirely reversed, but what I mean is, like, if he had lost, I would have hoped that he would have had opportunities to go out and speak. So I don't blame them for it at this point, because it's still relatively fresh. 19 Bunbury 88 says, actually, they first leaked audio tapes that were edited slightly, not the ones at trial, though. Slight differences with a couple of cuts and pastes. Okay. But it sounded like her implication was that the versions that were submitted to the jury were actually edited, which, if that's what she's saying, that is a very serious allegation. Apple B says, what are the chances of AH having a successful appeal? Can the judges think the media influences the jury? If there is, okay, so, well, in order for there to be a determination that the verdict is invalidated because the jury was influenced by the media, first off, there has to be evidence that they saw anything during the trial before their verdict, B, that they were actually influenced by it. Those are two parts right there. It's actually a very high burden. Judges don't like overturning verdicts. They don't. There's a lot of trust that is placed in our jury system. So the likelihood of this verdict getting overturned on that basis is so incredibly low. There would have to be someone that came forward and admitted to having having been impacted, that they wouldn't have otherwise decided how they decided. Because someone could even, I can see a situation where a juror can say, yes, I saw that there was stuff on the news. No, none of that impacted me because I decided not to give it any weight. The judge is going to look at that and say, okay, most likely is what I would say. Blanca Garcia, thanks so much for the super chat. Defy Normalcy says she thinks his fans don't see him as anything but his characters. She thinks people are that stupid to understand that difference. She is delusional. That's what it seems like. Alicia Mata says Amber's goals is to always plant seeds of doubt where her words are the one true words to believe. You must only believe her. Yeah. 448 Claire says, now remember, JD went through this BS for 6 years. Poor guy. Yeah, he did. Rhonda Griffin says most of the audio came from her as she was recording it most of the time. Fair point. Belly Laugher says, IMO, she's regarding JD's great acting ability. Maybe does not realize, could apply to her. Who convinced movie watchers she's whomever she is in Aquaman? Yeah. Yes, she is. She thinks that people think of her as an underwater queen. Apparently. Anu Batan says, this is the second time she died. The first time when she took the plunge with her psychological brain, and the second time when people find out things. Yep. Sinead says, I wonder if the scissor hands line was Amber trying to belittle or trivialize his career, like the 21 Jump Street audio. It sounds like it. That's what it sounds like. She's trying to belittle him in some way, but I don't see how that works because that character is a cult classic. So what's your point? I mean, not your point, but Amber's point. Like, okay, Amber. Tracy M says, a lot of us listen to the full 3-hour audio, Amber. Yep. Swim Sweetie 100 says, can she be stopped from continuing to defame Depp? If she continues saying things that are contrary to the verdict, specifically contrary to the verdict, yeah, they can file for an injunction to prevent her from continuing to run her mouth about it. Brianna says she's dropping more grumpies and then stepping in them. ROFL. Aricia Lawrence says, anyone sense that she's trying to mimic Ana Delvey? It seems like it. That's another impression that I love to do, you guys. I don't know if I've said this before, but I particularly loved that the Netflix show about Ana Delvey, and it was great. It was great. Where she's like, "What are you wearing? You look poor." It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. Spider Queen says she's saying he's better at convincing us he has scissors for fingers than she was at convincing us she was assaulted. I mean, okay. I guess I can understand that. The thing is, if she's saying that, it doesn't help her case because every sane person understands that he didn't actually have scissor hands, right? Like, so if he was better at convincing the world that he was a man that was invented, that had scissors for hands, if she's saying that he was better at doing that, which everyone knows is absolutely not true, than she was at convincing us that she was assaulted, it means she's terrible at convincing people that she was assaulted. Does that make sense? I hope so. Melistasi says, I love your facial expressions. Matches mine when I hear her say something crazy. She needs help. I know. I thank you. I appreciate that. Although I know my Mama Bites is watching, and she always likes to come and tell me after a live stream that she's like, you need to stop squinting because you're making wrinkles. You're making wrinkles on your forehead and in between your eyebrows. She's like always so concerned about it. And I'm like, I can't help it, Mom. Anyway, Val says, I did horrible things, but it wasn't my fault. Right? It's everyone else's fault. Everyone else's fault. Monica Cordelia says, next AH will blame the alpacas. Yes, she will. She will blame the alpacas next. Courtney says, how long can Amber and her team keep doing this press tour for before it becomes defamatory? Or can she keep speaking out without any repercussions? It depends on what it is that she's saying. She's like I said before, in my opinion, she has started to step into that zone by saying, even though the jury found that he did not abuse her, he did not assault her, she's saying, but he did. That's not going to fly if you keep doing that, if you keep it up. Amber Scissorhand says, not taking accountability is tight, Ryan Hurd. Nice. Bev's Fry Bread Wisdom says, I did horrible things because he made me do it. Is not taking responsibility for your actions. Yep. It's like when someone, when approached by someone who's been hurt by something that they did, and then that person says, I'm sorry you feel that way. Not, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I made you feel that way, but I'm sorry you feel that way. That's what that basically translates to. Wall of Sound said this to Nate this morning. Her whole moment about the scissor fingers looked like a total Zoolander skit comment. Oh my God, you're right. You're so right. Oh my God. That is so true. I didn't see that, but now that you said it, I can't unsee it. Awesome. Blue Raven 007 says there's love that turns into codependency too, not BS. That's true. That is true. And there could have been love in this relationship at some point that turned into some form of codependency. There absolutely could be. Lucky says right and wrong, pledge and donate, bed and toilet. She's confused. She's a little confused about a few things in life. Boo16, Boo17 says, question, do these allegations in interviews and media have any legal consequences for AH? Could JD file for a cease and desist? And JD supporters are not vile. Yeah, they're actually, I will say, I have not seen any evidence of those supposed signs talking about death to Amber. However, I have seen I have seen indications of JD's supporters donating a hell of a lot of money to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, more money than Amber Heard has ever donated. Am I right? So actually, let me take a look at the on that note. Let me see here. Let me see if I can pull up an update on the campaign, because even though that's all down, let me see here. $144,400 at this point. Let me see this here. Let me see if I can share this on their page. Boom. 144,400. That's incredible, guys. Look at this. That's what JD supporters do. That's what JD supporters do. They go to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles and they donate. I'm gonna add this link into the description below, by the way, in case anybody wants to donate more, or if anybody didn't have a chance to do that, that they can. Alrighty. So yeah, legal consequences. There could be some. There absolutely could be some legal consequences possible. Possible injunction. We'll see. Rachel says, I think she was insulting his acting. I think so. Maybe. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Dawn Higgins, thanks so much for your super chat. Thank you. Curtis D says the Amber Heard anthem is "She Ain't Pretty, She Just Looks That Way" by the Northern Pikes. Oh man. Kiana Brown says, I was emotionally abused by my ex. I became a completely different person. I avoided people. When I saw my ex, it triggered panic attacks. I can see that happening. I'm sorry. And I'm very sorry that you went through that. And hopefully you don't have to go through that anymore moving forward. But yeah, that sucks. That sucks. And yeah, hopefully, yeah, my greatest hope is that you can get to a place, ideally, where you could actually see them and it no longer triggers panic attacks, because that's true freedom, right? But if nothing else, then at the very least, being able to be in a safe place where you no longer have to see them anymore. Matt Pelzer says, she's just the worst. I got nothing more than that. Just an awful human. Yeah. Boo16, Boo17 says, she dressed like Lauren Bacall, slim. Is that hooking for JD? I see a hook emoji on my screen. She did dress like Lauren Bacall. Brick Cormier says, she is no Tony Montana who always tells the truth even when I lie. LOL. Right? L Wolf Talks Lady says, I don't understand what she was hoping to accomplish. All this has done is reinforce my opinion that AH should be smacked by Edward Scissorhands. Oh no, we don't condone violence on this channel, but I understand what you mean. Shampasta says, I keep missing it, but what happened with Eve Barlow and getting kicked out of the courtroom? So there was a witness, Gina Duders, who was testifying, and there was a recess that was called because Amber Heard's team requested a sidebar like towards the beginning of her testimony, and the issue was that they had found a social media post or some kind of social media post that she had posted or she had liked. I think it was a post that she had put up And they said that this was evidence that she had been watching the testimony. And so they took the jury out of the courtroom. The judge asked Gina, when she was on the stand, asked her, "Have you seen any of the testimony in this trial?" And she started to respond, "I've seen clips," which sucks because that means that she's a lay witness. She's not an expert witness. So she's not allowed to see any of the testimony at trial, because the idea is that you don't want her to be lining up her testimony with anybody else's, right? The jury needs to be able to see if they fit with one another on their own, independently and organically. So if somebody's watching someone else's testimony before they go up and testify themselves, there's a possibility that they're going to line up their testimony with someone else's, and that's improper. So she ended up getting kicked off the jury. It turns out that the whole reason why she was even put in that position from the beginning was Eve Barlow had a post pulled up from Gina's, I think, Instagram or something, handed her phone to one of the attorneys. The attorneys ran with that. And as it turns out, number one, that was an old post from the UK trial, from after the UK trial. So this was something that was posted long before this trial even existed. So that was sort of it was an improper get, essentially. And but the fact that Gina said on the stand that she had seen clips, I now wonder if what she intended in that moment was that she had seen clips from the UK trial and not this trial. Because if that had been the case, and that would be incredibly unfortunate, because then she would have been kicked out for not real reasons. But the fact is that she said what she said on the stand, and you can't take that back, right? So, would that change? I don't know. But anyhow, the reason why Eve got kicked out is because she had her cell phone in the courtroom, and she's not part of the legal team. So, she got kicked out. That's what happened. Shindog City says, "Thanks for streaming solo sometimes. If you love Alita, sometimes you want her all to yourself. Thanks for all your world-class content and commentary." Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Inger Johanna says, "After all the hard work you've done, God forbid you actually make some money, right?" What a ludicrous argument by MSM. Love and respect. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I have really appreciated the love and support and generosity from people that have been watching throughout this entire trial. I honestly had no idea what was going to result when I decided to stream the whole trial. I had friends that told me I was crazy. And after the first week, I was right here in my childhood home. And my mom at the end of that week forced me to go to dinner because I still needed to do a recap. And she was like, "Nope, we're going to go to dinner. You're going to take a break." And then she turned to me and said, "Are you going to be okay for the next 6 or 7 weeks?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll be fine." Anyhow, but I had no idea what was going to result, but the response has been absolutely phenomenal. And I appreciate each and every single one of you. Dancing Beagle says, "So much for just wanting it to be over and getting on with her life." I know, right? Yeah. L. Larson says, "Question, when we keep giving AH time, she will keep bringing the abuse to public. Can we just #ignore her like Mr. Depp does? Hopefully. It'll die down." It will. It will. But the thing is, I also, and I think a lot of the other YouTube, LawTube people, I think that we all sort of see our roles as pretty important here. And also the Justice for Johnny Depp people, we all see our roles as pretty important here to say, if the media is going to spin it one way, let's spin it back to the truth, right? So that's why we're still talking about it. Ian Kinzel says, "So wait, JD doesn't have scissor hands?" I hate to break it to you, Ian. I know this must be just absolutely earth-shattering information for you, but yeah, his hands are not actually made of scissors. I know. Joe Josephine Doris says, "If she has BPD, this garbage will never end. They just can't let go. Not a AH here. Just saying." Yeah. Yeah, could be. And also I see a member chat comment, and those never show up in StreamYard for some reason. So I want to catch it while it's here. Brianna, thanks so much. Says member for 2 months. I appreciate you and LawTube. My financial support for you is voluntary. Some MSM are forcing you to pay them to read their content. It's a stupid argument. Agreed. None of our stuff is behind a paywall. Nothing. I'm not forcing anyone. At some point soon, I will, for members and for supporters, I'll make some exclusive content, but that's content that'll be exclusively for those people. It's created for the intent of giving back to those that are supporting through YouTube memberships, through Patreon, and through locals. So I've been chomping at the bit to make something. I'm also in the finals of planning a very big event for myself. So I've got to balance a few things. So, but I can't wait to start getting some exclusive content for those folks as well. But my default has always been to create content for free. Like, commentary on Twitter, commentary on Instagram. I don't monetize any of that stuff. On Facebook, that one I'm less active on, but still, like, I post on all of those platforms. I don't charge anyone for them. So anyhow, Queen Ash Bash says AH is trying to have 2 courts seal the depots and transcripts. SMH, what do you think? I don't know actually. This is the first that I'm hearing about it. So I'm not so sure. I mean, the stuff that's been made public already has been made public. So they can't put the genie back in the bottle when we've all seen a lot of this stuff. Transcripts, maybe transcripts from, like, I can see them wanting to protect transcripts that include sidebar arguments, I suppose. I don't know what the purpose is for that though. I'm gonna think about that one, and I'll have to get back to you on it. Mr. J says, not a lawyer, but not a lawyer, though she is a butt. Transient Man says, her overacting demeanor shows that any psychologist worth their salt can say that she has a normal personality presentation. Yeah. Could be. Sarah Gold says, speaking truth to power is pointing out the faults or calling out the mistakes of powerful people who could harm you if they do decide to take insult, most often used when the faults can be corrected. Thank you. That is a much more succinct definition than my definition that I gave earlier. This is perfect. This is exactly correct, and according to my understanding. So yes, this right here. Thank you, Sarah. Dazzy says, if it had gone her way, the jurors would be awesome. Of course. The jurors ignored the social media crowds and they're so great and blah, 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 blah. But that's why she didn't say going into the trial that it was impossible for them to come out not seeing stuff, right? Because if they had come out in her way, then they would be heroes. She's moving the goalposts. That's what this is. Francis Greco says she meant that JD is the one with acting talent sufficient to convince the jury of a lie. While undoubtedly true, he didn't perform, but instead told the truth. Agreed. A. Bell says celebrity status is power. It is influence. Yes, that is true. My IDEA says, oh my gosh. Thank you. Pronounce my idea. Okay. Thank you. Because I know I've definitely pronounced it the wrong way multiple times. So I appreciate you telling me how to pronounce it. Duh. Okay. Thank you. Genuinely, I wonder what it would look like in the alternative universe of her coming out and saying, yes, I lied. Also, what moving on actually looks like to her. Well, I as an attorney, I would say I would not want, if I were her attorney, I would not want her to come out and say, don't, like, to say I actually lied on the stand, because then you've got an open admission for perjury. So but there are ways that you can indicate that you are accepting defeat gracefully instead. And that's not what she's doing. Batboy Oakland says, AH says social media shaped the trial. I think the trial shaped social media, showed AH looking ridiculous because she was ridiculous. Beware mirrors. That is also, yeah, I think, yes, that is a very brilliant point, is that it wouldn't have, I mean, social media responds to the things that are going on in the world, right? It's people that are giving their commentary. And social media at large was not so overwhelmingly anti Amber Heard, talking about like the full scope of the full populace, right? Like the hashtag campaigns, the anti Amber Heard sentiment across social media exploded as a result of this trial. As a result of this trial. That is such a good point. And of course, I would argue that there's a possibility that it's sort of a self-feeding cycle at a certain point, but it wouldn't have exploded had it not been for the information that came out of that trial. You're absolutely right about that. Robert Hudson says Johnny was also killed in his dreams by Freddy Krueger in 1984. His first movie role, been fooling us in every movie ever since. Yes. Yes. He was, yes. He has also been reincarnated at least once. That's a good one. Val says, this is the most painful thing she's ever been through because JD held her accountable for her lies, and so she had to act, which she cannot do. Yeah. Yeah. Renata Zhu, or Zhu, I think. Thank you so much for your super chat. Thank you. Thank you. Peter is my first name, says, Amber's good looks are a spellbinding distraction to fully understand, listen without watching Amber fake crying on the witness stand. Jaw-dropping, below poor acting. Fleetwood Mac song, Hypnotized. Yep. Yep. I would agree. And it's unfortunate if you are looking at if you're relying on certain looks, that's not time is not your friend. Natalie O says, why not seal all? She's only requested to seal some. Interesting. I don't know. Then that's a curious question because there's some particular things that she is wanting to seal because those are, see, this also, the problem is when you do that, we've talked a bit on this channel over months and I guess years now at this point. It's come up a few times, the Barbara Streisand effect, right? That like when you indicate that you want something, suddenly like something very specific to be made private, it makes people even more curious about it. So if she's only requesting to seal some transcripts and some depositions, it makes it very curious. The people are like, oh, what is it about those that you don't want released to the public? That's very interesting. I don't know. It could be legitimate because it could be that there's certain information that's like medical information, financial information that they just don't want to be released to the public at large. That is entirely possible. There could be legitimate reasons for that. Or maybe she just doesn't, maybe it's just damaging information. I don't know. Val says, in Amber's world, covering up a bruise equals making a bruise. Pledge equals donate. Insult equals physical beating. Bedroom equals bathroom. Lying equals telling the truth. That's what it would seem. Misty Stevens says, did anyone else notice that her lip is still swollen in the same spot as her supposed busted lip? Yes, because she is still recovering from December 15th, 2015. Cameron Phillips says the audio leaked to Daily Mail was unedited, by the way. Lies. Okay, there you go. Shelley Brown says Savannah Guthrie is an attorney. Yes, yes. Thank you for mentioning that because someone had mentioned that before, and it shows. She's got some really good questions coming out of this that are, yeah, it's good. It's good. EO says, if you were representing Johnny, would you have him come out to speak or just have him let it go since he won? Does it profit him anything to speak out? Honestly, I say let it lie. He has no need. There's no requirement. If anything, it could, he could end up saying something that ends up being, I don't know, not so great. So at least for now, maybe give it a couple years. And then at that point, when everything has finally settled down, assuming that there's no appeals and blah, 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 like there's really no strategic advantage to having him come out and talk right now. So yeah, I say let him live the life that he's been desperate to live. Ian Yarrow says AH acts like JD supporters are dumb and gullible, but it sounds like an admission of her own attitude towards those who take her side. Yeah. Yeah, you're kind of right about that. Jennifer D says, say as Anna D, I tried to give this toddler advice after the trial. Ask him if he will take a wire transfer. Duh. Che Dustin says, is it true AH must file a bond for the JD awarded amount before her appeal can be heard? I need to double check that one. I'm not sure. I think she might have to do some kind of a bond, but I don't think it's for the full amount. I'm not sure. I need to do some more research on that one to be perfectly honest with you. Gloria Thornton says, regarding AH Petri dish child, threatened Muskie, appeal money. Could be. There could be. She might have some financial connections. I don't know. There's definitely a lot of speculation. And also Meryl Vandenherk, I see in the chat, says, sorry, I'm gonna pull this one up, Muffin Man. Meryl Vandenherk says, Legalbytes, I believe Rob said she only needs to post the full amount if she wants to stop Depp from collecting. Yeah, okay. Then that's okay. Cool. Thank you. James Weingand says, Johnny is known to have scissor hands, right, Miss Heard? Camille. Yes. I almost would have expected her to then like follow it up with like, and that's how you know I didn't slice his finger off because they were made of scissors. Daniel Stitzman says, here's coffee money and to give the middle finger to Business Insider's hit piece on law tubers. I appreciate that. Thank you. I will say, however, Jeff Weiss, the author of that particular article, I don't have a problem with the article itself. I think he was pretty kind. I did see that he did mention in the article that I was maybe arguably one of the first ones to decide to live stream the trial. I did appreciate that. And he did say when he was reaching out to me for this one, he was the one that wrote the original BI article about me from like week 2, the one that Taylor Lorenz like glanced at for like a minute and then decided to, in my opinion, mischaracterize it. But he went, when he reached out to me again, he was like, hey, just so you know, the angle is not to say that you pivoted. Like we're just talking about the phenomenal growth that several people have gotten. There's some of the biggest growths that happened from covering this trial or whatever. I will say that but some of the spin that came out of that is hilarious though. Hilarious as in like you have to laugh about it sometimes, right? You have to. So, but I appreciate so much of the support of everybody that's been like, so what, right? Like they dedicated so much time and energy and expertise and whatnot and commentary for this trial. It's not for nothing. So anyhow, but yeah, I really appreciate you guys so much. Margaret M. Huang says, Wonder how soon will AH team blame Savannah for unfair interview questions because her husband consulted for JD's team. I will be taking bets. Yeah, they'll probably say, well, she first talked to Ben and Camille before she talked to Amber Heard, and therefore they poisoned her. That's going to be what she says. Giannis says, thank you. Gosh, that bugged me. Also, major kudos to the interviewer for not making this a walk in the park for AH. Confrontational, but never rude. Yes. Yeah. And that's how you do it. Nicholas Starrow says Team JD is good at letting Team Amber Heard running their mouths in media and then smashing it a week later with rebuttals. Great lawyering in and out of court. Agreed. Eric Clark says, send the donation page to NBC so they can ask AH. That'd be nice. Fade to Gray says, Amber continues exaggerating. She couldn't just admit to making poor choices. Instead, she admitted to doing the most unrecognizably horrible things. Yeah. She exaggerates. Andy, the Game Maker, says, more unbelievable interviewee, Alec Baldwin or Amber Heard? That's a good question. Neither of them could do fake tears. That's yeah. Neither of them were good. Alec Baldwin in his George Stephanopoulos interview, that was pretty wild. Yeah, I don't know, Andy. I don't know. They both were unconvincing to me. L Wolf Talks Lady says, how does the judge decide what evidence is admitted? Well, first they have to have a request to admit it by one side or the other. So it starts with that. And then the other side is going to object or not object, so that the judge decides based on the rules of evidence and based on the evidence, the objections that are put before the court. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Rhonda Griffin says, question, could her comment about being pushed to not know right from wrong be because her lawyer on YouTube has stated she could be charged with glassing, or with a lawyer on YouTube has stated she could be charged with glassing in Australia since they don't have a statute of limitations? Maybe. I mean, it could be that she's thinking about that specifically. It seemed to me that she was just talking about in general, that she just, like, in their relationship didn't know right from wrong because she was pushed to that point, which is lame. You're an adult. Be an adult. Unless you're saying that you actually had a mental, like your brain snapped to an insanity defense kind of thing. I haven't seen anything like that, and we also heard from some doctors who analyzed her, who did an assessment. Cool. D. Sivek says, listen to audio tape today with JD saying to AH, borderline personality disorder. Evidently, back in 2016, she was already diagnosed with this. Shocker, he didn't get out then. If he knew, confirms Dr. Curry. Yeah, he did mention borderline personality disorder at one point. I remember hearing, because we heard that first before we heard from Dr. Curry. So that was interesting, because I remember when I first heard that, I was like, ooh, if he's like throwing out accusation about that stuff, without, yeah. I mean, people will say things in a relationship, especially when they're really angry, but it just seemed like, I don't know. But then it turned out that she actually did have a diagnosis. So I don't know. If he knew, love can make you do crazy things sometimes still, though. Heg Beats Broterfalet. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. I'm so sorry. Thanks so much for the super sticker. Thank you. Jose Martinez says, I'm mad I was able to be, or I'm glad I was able to be part of your fundraiser. I only wish I'd been able to donate more. When they go low, we go high. Yeah. Well, I appreciate everyone that has been able to has been able to donate and that was able to participate. Love it. I love it. We did some really good work that day. Marketing Memes says, can we talk about how cold and unemotional AH was talking makeup? As someone who has dealt with PTSD, that kind of thing would be triggering, creepy. Yeah, I mean, I also don't want to. I always hesitate a little bit when I'm criticizing someone else's emotional reactions to something traumatic, because I also understand that different people have different reactions to certain life events. You know, like we could all go back to the thing that I like to look back on is 9/11. You know, people, that was a very traumatic day for everyone in the United States and for a lot of people around the world, I think. But you know, I'm just thinking from an American perspective, and I would venture to guess that people have different like long-term emotional responses to that day, not just depending on where you were in the country, if you were in New York City that day versus elsewhere, as an example, but then also like people will have different reactions and whatnot. But anyway, I overall, her responses did not seem to make much sense PTSD wise, from what I understand from friends that have dealt with PTSD through some point in their lives because of something that they went through. I agree. It doesn't feel right. Jorge Oyola says, question, hey, hello from Uruguay, South America. How come she can continue to defame him in these interviews? Should she avoid talking about him? Well, she could talk about him. She could talk about the trial, but to go and say that he did abuse her when the jury came back and saying that kind of a statement is defamatory, she could possibly face an injunction at some point if she continues. Cordoba 82 says, wondering AH reaction at JD's Dior Cologne winning award from the Fragrance Foundation as Men's Luxury France of 2022. I'm sure she loves that. She absolutely loves that. Jessica Beeson, thank you so much for the super sticker. And oh no, I think I'm okay. My Wi-Fi is a little bit slower, so I hope that it's okay. I'm looking at the other side. It got a little choppy there. Okay. Amanda Lang says, scissor hands. That's how he cut his finger off. The one theory that didn't come in at trial about about his finger getting cut off, right? We had the glass bottle theory that was Johnny Depp's side, and then we had Amber's like 3 different factual theories about getting it caught in an accordion door, and then the phone smashing, and then him cutting it himself. Little did we know, all of those were wrong. It's because his fingers were actually made of scissors. Holly Robinson says, AH defamed Edward Scissorhands by saying he has scissors for fingers. Lies, 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 lies. I tell you, lies, lies, lies. Lucky says, Hogue voice. Hey guys, hit that like button. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, if you guys are enjoying the video, if you want to hit the like button, I'd really appreciate that. That'd be great. Megan or Megna. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I apologize. Says, question 4AH. Evidence was suppressed. Why does the Molly incoming text of JD no longer exist on the Fairfax trial exhibits? LB, did you know? I checked all. I don't know. I did not realize that was taken off of the exhibit list. That is very interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Nadine Hansen Olson, welcome to Bike Club. Welcome to Bike Club. I hope you enjoy being here with us, and thanks so much for supporting the channel. Die of 2, Die 4 Gourmet Caramel Corn says she didn't mind social media when it was on her side for 6 years until Johnny got to speak. She was hoping social media would be helping her instead. Of course. That's why she's moving the goalposts. Teddy Sweaty says, I legit have a hemorrhoid and it's more comfy than hearing Amber talk. I appreciate you letting us know. Medea Yorba says, here late. She says this is the worst thing she has ever been through. Seriously? Compared to being held captive for 3 days, beaten and raped with a bottle? She says this is worse. Make of that what you will. Courtney Sheila, welcome to Bike Club. Thanks so much for becoming a YouTube member. Peter says, if AH thought JD had scissor hands, that might explain why she thought it was safe to throw a bottle at his hand. She was shocked to find flesh. Exactly. I mean, I now understand. I understand now why she did that. She thought that they were just doing like I don't know, like some kind of like strange batting practice, right? Like all he had to do was like put his hand up and like bat at it, and then it he can do like maybe he can just do like one finger up and then like a perfect slice down the middle, like yeah. KK says Law Lumber and Burkhart explained their thoughts of it on Twitter, that she's doing a reconsideration on a scope. Why the seal then appeal? Okay. I'll check out their thoughts on that one. Soaring Kite says, you are the best, Alita. Love your channel. Thank you. Thank you. You are the best. You are the best. All of you are the best. I appreciate you guys coming here and hanging out with me to go over this crazy nonsense. T.O. says, Amber needs to grow up and be a mom versus wasting money to prove a point that we all know is false. Yep. I would agree. Granny's still a gamer. Says she has her cartoon or her cartoon I'm a victim eyebrows drawn on. Heh. Oh yes. Regulator 30 says keeping quiet / private is true to JD's character. He said everything he needed to on the stand, and unlike AH, is actually moving on as best he can. Yep. So true. Jackie Serpa says, I can't believe after lying to the world repeatedly, she has the nerve to tell us that we cannot look her in the eye. Yeah. Erica Ashforth says, her husband consulted, but not on this trial. She disclosed that at the beginning of the interview. Okay. Interesting. Muffins Turd says, it's surprising that AH and Elaine talk trash on national TV that literally don't make any sense at all. And then she complains that social media is responsible. Someone please give her a mega pint. I think mega pints might be the problem. Have you ever thought? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But no, but I do agree. The shock that she seems to be feeling is a little bit unreasonable. We'll say that. Stephalophagus says, could EB be censured for blasting the judge and the jury? I don't know. I don't, to be honest, I've never seen a situation like this before, so I don't really know what the proper consequences are for Elaine. I will say that if she plans to continue operating out of that particular courthouse, I would expect her to have a difficult time because she has definitely spoken a lot of trash about the whole system there out of Fairfax. So I would imagine that any judge operating out of that courthouse is going to be like, okay, so you disagree with my decision here, and you're gonna drag me through the mud too. I'm not gonna, there are times when a judge can go easy on an attorney on a particular issue and kind of throw them a bone for various things, like in ways that don't impact like the ends of justice, but just kind of help make their life a little bit easier. There are ways that they can make that kind of a decision. There are ways that they can also make a lawyer's life very, very difficult. That can happen. Dr. Anya Reinerzewska says, in image restoration, one of the worst things you can do is lie. Food for thought. There are strategies she could use instead that could help her. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it could be that she just says, coming from my perspective, this is what I see. Like this was my experience. Those are the kinds of things that are talking from a very subjective kind of way could have been helpful to her, but instead she tried to convey herself as an objective arbiter of fact, which we have already seen that she's not good at because she's been lying. Anyway, Lena Palmquist says, just wondering, how are your voice doing with this much live streaming? I don't understand how you can still talk. Love your channel. Thank you. It's good. It's good. Somehow I actually didn't end up losing my voice throughout that trial. I don't really know how. Maybe it was because I had help from my friends on the panel to help talk from time to time also, but yeah, no, I I appreciate it. Amma Baby 902 says it's clear Age has no advisors. She needs to go low profile and do some charity work for a while to rehab her image. She is still delusional. Yeah. Uncivil Law says bite is pog. Thank you. Thanks, Uncivil Law. I appreciate you. Jim Mulvaney says, do you think if her appeal is denied, she will accuse the judge of being a Depp fan too? She could, I guess, but I don't see how that's going to do anyone any favors. It's not a basis of appeal, or anything, it's just, to that, everyone would just say, sure, Jan. Aku says, if you were AH's lawyer, what advice would you give her at this point? I would say take a beat until we have this whole verdict finalized, until we have a proper strategy for appeal if we decide to appeal. You know what I mean? And then I would say, if you are going to do any media tours, we are going to go over that start to finish so that you know exactly what you can and cannot say, because this is treacherous territory here. Hydrotonic says, at least Amber said his name right. Captain Jack Sparrow. LOL. Yeah, it's true. Captain, not just Jack Sparrow. Captain of the Black Pearl. Ryan Blackhawk says, I'd rather go through colonoscopy prep again than listen to AH spew more lies to attempt to gaslight us all. Oh no. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I know it's a common experience of, at a certain point for all of us, but I appreciate that. Regulator 30 says, Amber using Elaine's voice mocking JD. You cannot look into my eyes would have made my day. Oh yeah. Conscious Expression says, I predicted Johnny would win a big amount and Amber would be granted appeal based on the jury not being sequestered. Did I call it or what? They went on tour trashing the jury the day after the trial. Yep. You called it. Absolutely. Cheryl C says, question, is she ruining ops for settlement with JD's team? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what they have been. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. Angeline Botha says, yes, Alita, your job is incredibly important and we love you for it. Please keep it up for as long as she does. Sounds good. We will be here. Claire Archer Richards says, AH didn't seem that shocked when verdict came in. Yeah, agreed. Belly Laugher says, I think EB's hoping for job offer to be a regular commentator from MSM channel. Good luck with that, Elaine. Susan Lee says, any idea how much she would be paid for these interviews? I think, I don't know. I saw someone in the chat, I think, said she had been paid several million. I don't know exactly, though. I don't know exactly how much. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, well, I think that's the last of it. So, I appreciate every single one of you. We've been hanging out for almost exactly 2 hours at this point. This has been great. I love all of you guys for joining me and hanging out. And this was a whole lot of nonsense that we're responding to. If there is another part to it, I may go live at some point today also for the other part. I need to find it apparently. So, otherwise, I guess I'm going to add the donation link into the description below. And actually, you know what? Let me find that real quick. I'm going to put that in the chat. Why didn't I just do that earlier? 1 second here. Talk amongst yourselves. Here we go. I should have done this earlier. Here we go. Boom. Okay. So, okay, it's in there. And I am about to, so it's pinned there now. Pinned at the top of the chat at the very end, right before we leave. I'm going to put it in the description below as well, though. So in case anybody else wants to continue donating or hasn't had an opportunity to donate yet. Interlocution says JD team needs to not settle with Amber Heard. They can't trust her to meet any conditions. I think that is also true. I think that is also definitely true. So, alrighty. Okay, guys. With that, we will say until the next video, right? Okay. Alrighty. I'll see you guys in the next one.